Craft Class 2025, it's amongst us. We're getting started. January, we're starting with a launch event competition series. As you know, we want to see some of the leaders in our industry, see how creative they can get. And actually, we're going to be using a bourbon as the product. I'm here at Iron Wolf Distillery.
Absolutely. Man, John, pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute pleasure walking in here, kind of seeing exactly the layout of the campus, which you'll get a chance to see the tour later. But first off, I know a lot of people are going to be watching this video because they want to know about the product, especially our competitors. That's their first question anytime they go into a craft cocktail competition. Mm-hmm. What are the product? What are the tasting notes? What's the story? Because a lot of times they want to create a craft beverage that ties into the story of which the brand was created. And I've had a chance to sit with you already. You guys have such an interesting story, but I'm super interested here because you just pulled out the vodka and gin out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty sure there's a whole lineage. I'll let you run it.
A little something for everybody. That's
right?
What we like, yeah. So when we created Iron Wolf, it was all about social connections. It's about hanging out with your pack. It's about having a good time. And that's a nucleus that we wanted to build the brand around. And then the wolf and the wolf pack, we've always loved wolves, just the wild spirit of the wolf, that social connection of the pack, and also the diversity of the pack. But it all works together. It's like our product line. It's a metaphor for the product line for Iron Wolf, and that's what we're about. And we love craft cocktails and mixologists because it's about the uniqueness of the spirit and the cocktail that makes the difference. And so instead of just generic kind of run-of-the-mill or more industry standard products, we really like to differentiate and make things that are unique and distinctive in each product category. And as I walk you through, that's kind of what we'll try.
And one thing I like about you guys who are the product creators is almost like with the venue owners, they build this space and they still want people to come in there and they want to see how people use it. And you ultimately are doing the same thing. We create this product, now I want to see how other people are using it.
Absolutely. We're super excited to get other inputs and to have the market start taking these on and creating unique spirits or unique cocktails around our unique spirits. And we're excited for that. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, let's run through it.
Okay, so out here, if you get a chance to come out to Iron Wolf Ranch and Distillery, we've got a 15-acre venue. It's out here in the hill country just west of Austin, out by the lakes and Lake Travis. So beautiful place to hang out, experience live music, food, craft cocktails, bar. We've got one of the, I think, the most beautiful craft distilleries in the state. It's not huge, but it's also not small. It's a nice 5,000 liter base batch process. It was all custom designed by us, and we'll go on a tour a little bit later, and we'll talk about that. But here we'll focus on the products. We get people out, we want to have something for everybody, and that's why, again, the broad lineup. We've got over 30 awards, national and international, across the product line so far, and we keep winning more. The hallmark products are kind of the bourbon and the flavored whiskeys. Number one is the Hotchkotch Butterscotch whiskey, and then our High Rye Select Bourbon, both multi-gold medal award-winning spirits. So we'll feature these, but let me tell you a little bit about everything else first.
Okay.
All right. The vodka is 100% corn. Vodkas by legal definition are a neutral spirit. You have to distill them at over 190 proof, which means you leave almost all the distinctive flavors of whatever the raw ingredient is behind. And that's kind of the nature of it, right? It's supposed to be smooth on the palate and indescript, non-distinct, and that's what we liked. We also get a little bit of nuance of sweetness from the corn here. So 7 times distilled, a lot of charcoal filtering, just reciprocal charcoal filtering smooths it and almost polishes it, I say.
Okay.
So it's got a nice medium body and a little bit of nuance of sweetness in the finish from the corn.
Okay.
Okay, so that's our regular vodka. The gin takes that nice neutral spirit as the base, and then our first craft gin, we wanted to be unique by being less crafty.
Yeah, just like some regular, just we get it done gin.
Yeah, but it's a little distinctive.
Is this like anti-Hendrix type of stuff is going on?
It's actually citrus.
Okay.
It's like a citrus version of Hendrix.
Oh, okay.
So instead of going cucumber or instead of going heavy London dry gin, we actually back off the juniper and make it a little bit less.
Okay.
So it's like not like you're eating a pine tree that people complain about.
All right.
And then we layer in 4 types of citrus: lemon, lime, bitter orange, and bergamot. So those nice citrus notes layered on that reduced and simple botanical juniper base just makes it really unique and distinctive.
Do you have a chemistry background?
Gin.
Do you have a chemistry background?
Actually, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I got my degree in biochemistry. You're starting to remind me of a professor.
I got degrees in chemistry.
Oh, okay, all right. I was like, man, I'm getting flashbacks to OChem, just your tone of voice. I'm like, man, my man knows his stuff. Okay.
So, nice approachable gin. The next is the infused vodka category. We like to be different, so instead of running out and doing yet another grapefruit or vanilla or cherry or some vodka, we played around and we ended up here, Giddy Up, which is our zesty horseradish vodka.
Interesting.
So this one's really distinctive, and again, for those mixologists in the craft bars, this one is so unique. We blend it up so it's got a nice richness. We get all fresh horseradish from Indiana. We bring it down here, big, huge bushel bags, and we take a whole day and we cry and we peel and we cut and we get it into an alcohol water bath infusion and blend it up so it's got a nice richness, nice botanical, a little bit of zest. We stop short of the sinus rush, you know, we're not making a novelty, right? We want a unique craft spirit, but those rich botanicals, a little bit of that zest makes it super distinctive. This one kills it in the Bloody Mary market.
I was about to say, okay.
Yeah, of course. It's a natural for Bloodies. But now that it's out, the mixologists get a hold of it and they make some fantastic martinis with it. It also blends, of course, and lends itself to seafood pairings. Oyster shooters are natural when you taste it. And we've got one martini here that we kind of took from a mixologist friend of ours. Fantastic. It's a elderflower liqueur, fresh muddled basil, and a little bit of lemon. And it's just chilled up. It's just this herbal kind of cacophony, very refreshing.
That's a solid balance. The elderflower has a sweetener of it all.
Yeah.
Citrus, okay.
And then the basil brings home kind of some of those herbal characteristics of the root, and so it's just unique. And this one's a real fun one. So that's one for you to play around with. And that's a multi-gold medal award winner too in national competitions. The next four are our barrel-aged spirits. The rum we actually do in partnership with a distillery in the Virgin Islands. So the rum we bring in as a white rum. White rum, not very interesting though, kind of disappears into the rum cocktails, sometimes even a little harsh. We get it into our bourbon barrels, so it rests for a year and a half, picks up this nice amber color, some of the vanilla notes out of the wood, and a little bit of complexity like an aging whiskey. So to me on the palate, this tastes almost like a naturally sweet, kind of light young whiskey. And it brings those nice vanilla notes and a little bit of that unique character to the rum cocktails as well, instead of just disappearing. So that's our bourbon barrel-aged rum. Next, we'll move into our multi-gold medal award winning bourbon. We call this our select bourbon. It's about 5 years in the barrel.
And this is the one our bartenders are using in a craft cocktail competition, so make sure you guys are listening up here.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. And this is a multi-gold medal award winning spirit here. 5 years in the barrel and goes through a minimum of 3 years of what we call hot barrel aging. So we let that Texas heat, we let that Texas weather outside just take to the barrels, and it develops a much more rich, complex bourbon and spirit in a shorter amount of time. We pay for it with Angel Share because of the heat, but the heat and the cold, we just let it go as hot as it gets and as cold as it gets, and we all know how Texas weather is.
Right.
It's hot and then it's cold, so we ride those dynamics, and that creates this super rich spirit. The other thing about our bourbon that's a little bit distinctive is the rye content. We put it up about 25%. So that would be considered a high rye. You know, a lot of bourbons are 100% corn, they're a wheated bourbon. Those are softer on the palate and a little bit less interesting. This rye gives a little bit of a kick. It makes it more interesting, more distinctive. It brings in notes like tobacco, dark chocolate, coffee, things that you don't get out of corn and wheated bourbons. And at that rye percentage at 90 proof makes it a bourbon drinker's bourbon and really interesting and very strong in the cocktails.
Okay.
So,
You're a spirit forward, strong tasting type of palate.
Yeah.
Which I think lends to the symbolism of the wolf. It's like this. What do you think when you're drinking a wolf beverage?
Absolutely, right? It's got to be bold.
Right.
And that lends itself to our little tagline here that's actually on the glass and the bottles, which is bold spirits, Texas attitude.
Yeah.
All right. And when you get to the bottom of the bottle too, don't forget to remember it's the little things that make a difference. So this is our embedded wolf paw in the glass in the bottom of the bottle. It's kind of fun. Everything matters, right? Attention to detail.
And you know, bartenders were really big about bottle shape when it comes to just the ergonomics of doing our job. And this is something that fits well on the shelf, but also in the service well. How did you take that into account as you were kind of designing the framing of the bottle?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, everything we do at Iron Wolf, it's got to be unique. It's got to be kind of first class. We spent 2 years developing this custom bottle, and it's very distinctive because all of the products are important to us. And if we were just doing gins and vodkas or clears, we would do something a little bit more modern in style, which is usually a little bit more angular. And then for the bourbons and whiskeys, we never wanted to surrender or lose that big traditional bourbon whiskey feel. So we ended up on the design blending the two together. So it starts with this more angular base, a little bit more modern in style, and blends up to this just big, bold, traditional whiskey top. And turns out to be one of a kind. The inlaid metal badge is just a really nice premium touch. And it's great in the bar and the well. It's thinned out a little bit on the side, so even though it's a big kind of meaty, beefy bottle, it's really easy to get your hands around.
Yep.
Men and women alike, right? Because it's slender, it's balanced so that if you grab it in the middle and the pour is nice and balanced,
Absolutely.
and it's still got this big, bold, traditional whiskey top. So if it's in a well and you're grabbing the top, you got it all right there.
Even when it comes just to the dry storage and the storage of the bottles on the shelves, and a lot of times we get these liquor bottles who just are not perfectly designed to fit next to each other, and it just makes storing them a whole lot harder. I won't call out anybody, but yes.
Well, that's great. Well, hopefully you and your people will appreciate this one. A lot of time went into that, and as far as the thinking and the design goes. All right, now we'll jump to the hot scotch. This is the first of our 2 flavored whiskeys here. This is a butterscotch whiskey. So again, when we started, 10 years ago or whatever, the cinnamon products were popular, but none of them were good. We thought, well, if people want a cinnamon whiskey, let's give them a real whiskey. Let's use nice, fresh, clean cinnamon, and let's make a craft-worthy version of cinnamon whiskey. And that was the Iron Hot. But then we also said, well, we're Iron Wolf. Everybody's trying to do something cinnamon. What else can we do in the category that's unique? So we spent a year playing around with all different kinds of flavors and combinations, and we ended up here, hot scotch. So this is a blend of caramels, vanillas, brown sugars that get this nice, rich butterscotch flavor. And then we were happy with it. It's got a little bit of sweetener, kind of common in the category. The only thing we didn't like, being more bourbon and whiskey drinkers, was just a sweet finish.
Yeah, because you guys want bold.
Yeah, we want bold, right? And I'm like, we really didn't drink the sweet stuff. So we thought, what can we do with this? We thought, I don't know, hell, we're in Texas, let's throw some peppers in there. So we ended up throwing some hot peppers in there, and it was a game changer, changed everything. So we spent a year, because we weren't open yet, playing around with we started with 12 different types of fresh peppers. We did infusions, we tried different amounts, we tried different combinations, and we ended up with a blend of 3 that we don't say, fresh Texas peppers.
You guys will not give the information up, man. We're gonna have to stalk you guys or something, okay.
That's right. And it blends up so that this is really distinctive and unique. It's got this sweetness on the front end, but it's got this nice finish that adds a little bit of that Texas heat. Sweet with a little Texas heat, we say. Nothing like it on the market, very distinctive. And this one is a multi-gold medal award winning, won recently gold medal, best flavored whiskey in Texas.
That's big.
Whiskeys of the World just gave it a gold for best flavored whiskeys. So this one really distinctive and fun. And then Iron Hot is our cinnamon whiskey version of that, which is just the cinnamon, nice and clean, but also has a blend of those peppers. So we like that sweet with a little Texas heat. That's kind of our jam now in this category that makes us really distinctive.
And I want to back up, because as you were going through this year-long process of really perfecting the flavors for hot scotch, it's much like a bartender creating a cocktail, in theory, and not putting it on the menu yet. What is that like, going back and forth and trying to understand consumer feedback and how they'll be receptive to this ultimately final version?
Right. Well, interesting process. It's a long process, as you know, right? There's so many different subtleties. I've got an Excel spreadsheet and a matrix. When we were playing with this, I probably had 40 different flavors and then 100 different columns of different amounts and combinations to try to just get that tuning. We have people in the industry that would come taste it. If you would have been here then, we would have loved to have you come give us feedback as well, as we try to tune it in and find the most distinctive and unique and yet pleasing distinctive flavor out there. And we ended up with our best combination with the feedback that we got. But it was a long process. There's a lot of nuance in it and how you blend that up, and also getting the right balance of heat versus the sweet. It took a lot of time and effort.
And with you kind of relying on the industry for their feedback, how important is that to kind of lean on the industry for their feedback versus picking a random 40 people from a random area in town?
Right. Well, it's hard because you can't get feedback from everybody, right? It's got to be a limited pool. So you just pick the best you have. And also, one of the things we rely on is what we like. It still kind of comes down to, you're not going to please all the people all the time, right? But what do we like? When we think it's right, and we just go with it. We go with our gut, and the feedback in the market's been fantastic. And the fun thing about these is, especially the hot scotch, is it's in a category that typically gets drank in, let's say, chilled on ice, and it's fantastic like that, but also makes some phenomenal cocktails. So this can extend up. It can be in that shot category, chilled shots, fantastic. Just on ice as an after dinner, fantastic, but also makes a great old fashioned. It makes espresso martinis that are amazing and all distinctive. And so this one's fun, especially in those regards.
You guys touched on a different type of old fashioned earlier. What was that again?
We call it a new fashion.
A new fashion. What is that?
Yeah, so a new fashion is a combination of our hot scotch along with our bourbon. So it's basically a 50-50 pour of both, and then the rest is finished with the bitters and the orange and the way you want to finish it. I mean,
So you guys are
the
using
experts.
this as a sweetener for the old fashioned.
Absolutely,
I like
that's it, right? Don't take a nice bourbon and pour in simple syrup, right? Bring something that's more distinctive and unique and a little spicy, and it gets it in there, and we call that the new fashion, and it's fantastic.
That sounds amazing, man. Well, thank you so much. Bartenders, competing in Craft Clash, bartenders looking to play with these products, make sure you rewind this video, understand where the creator was thinking with these products, and integrate that into your creations. It'll make it a whole lot better. Well, let's see the rest of the place.
Go on, thank you.
Let's go.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
go take a tour.